Hey everybody, what's up? This game I play someone who bets a lot but is actually fairly tight. And I know that sounds like a bit of a contradiction, but they stab out at a lot of flops, and if you raise them, they'll fold when they don't have a hand. So that's pretty much my strategy to make a few raises, a few 3-bets post-flop, and to play pretty tight early on myself when the blinds get higher to open up a little bit and steal a few blinds. So this first hand, 9-10 of spades, limping, and my opponent bets, and most likely with top pair I'm good. I'm raising really to see where I am on the hand, try and get a feel for whether I'm ahead or not, and I get flat called. Turn is a 3 of hearts. It looks like a pretty good turn. I mean, it completes the straight if my opponent had 5-6, but apart from that, it should be a pretty safe card. And check from my opponent, betting 120. If I get check raised here, then I'm done with the hand. And the flat call, the river is the 4, and not a very good card for me, obviously, because if my opponent was loose and calling on the 4, he's now hit 3 of a kind. So when my opponent checks, I check behind, and he comes up with 6-8, so a draw. And I did the right thing by making him pay for the draw, and obviously I wasn't getting any more chips on the river, so the check behind was fine. Alright, king 3, limp, and here I bet out, get called, and because I've hit a draw on the turn, I'm going to bet again, and called again, and the 4 doesn't help me, so now I've got 5th pair, and after I've been called twice, I'm not going to try and fire again. Check, and my opponent bets 140, and he can have it. So I'm not unhappy with the way I played that. Fired 2 streets, couldn't get the fold and gave up. And my opponent stabs out here. I find that not the sort of board that I expect my opponent to stab if he actually had the 9. Raise him straight away to see what happens, and he folds, so stabbing but not too loose as far as the calling department perhaps. And here I've got a flush draw. On the turn I hit my 10, I think I'm probably good, so I bet. Get called, ace on the river is not really a good card for me, and Susie Hot Muffins bets 40. Looks to me like it's a value bet, but I can't really fold, and she had checked behind with top pair. Not really the best play in my opinion, giving me a free chance to hit my draw, but it worked out pretty well for her. And I guess with the name of Susie I should be calling my opponent her, but whatever. Alright, so limping my a7, and check behind, don't bother stabbing this board. 5 on the turn and my opponent stabs and can have it. I probably should have stabbed out there. And my opponent limps, I make a raise pre-flop, trying to see what my opponent's going to do. Is she tight pre-flop? And she folds. I'm just getting the feel here that she is pretty tight, though she does stab out a bit. And once again, she stabs, donks out, and I fold. And now she's min-raised, easy call for me, big pot odds. And this little 20 bet looks weak. A lot of times I would raise this, but I think I'll just let that one go and look for a better spot. Alright, and here, check, so I'm going to take a stab, get called, and now I hit second pair, so I'm beating the 2 in random hands. So betting 60 on the turn, thinking I'm probably going to get raised if my opponent has a 9 and I can be done with the hand. And now she bets at 100. That's pretty awful. It looks a lot like a flush draw, but just in case it's a bluff, I'll look it up. And yep, it was a flush draw. So she plays her draws passively, or did in that case. And I'm just being a little bit tight here. I know that I'm not too worried about this opponent. She's a bit passive, and once again donks out. And I know these donks are really annoying for a lot of players that can't deal with them. My approach is, my opponent is donking out too much, I'm going to raise them too much and hopefully get them to fold. And that worked. So about 3 times I've raised the donks, and at least 2 of those times I haven't had the goods. This is a tricky spot. I'm going to check and call. I've got bottom pair. And now 20 on the turn. Ish. I really don't like my hand at the moment, but I'll call. Could be saved by a spade on the river. And full pot bet. I'm done. Not sure if I played that well. I probably should have just folded on the flop or bet the flop and folded. I don't know. Alright, no donk this time. I bet. And take the pot. And little min raise, calling this wide, as you know from previous videos, I always do that. And my opponent bets 60 here. This is a fairly dry flop. I don't think my opponent will have hit it very often. I'm going to call on my gut shot and see what I can do on the turn. Even out of position, I'm not too worried here. And once my opponent checks behind, I'm going to have a stab and try and pick this up. Bet 140. Note the bet size, that if you're going to try and make this play, don't be doing it, like by betting 60 or something and making it really easy to get called. You need to bet an amount that's going to deter your opponent from actually calling you. And I'm glad that she folded that. I wouldn't have been in great shape if she called. Alright, here, such a connected board, such a wet board, I'm not even going to bother to stab. Get called by 10s and jacks, and obviously aces, kings and queens, diamonds, and now I'll just be happy if I split, which I am. So I could have taken it with a stab, but I didn't think it was a good board to stab at. And a min raise, and I'm folding my 9-2. Do call the min raise really wide, but 9-2 is pretty horrible. I have a sort of strong dislike of 2s. Alright, my opponent bets, and 3-bet again. And all of these 3-bets have been successful. So as you can see, when your opponent's betting too much, you need to 3-bet them widely on air. If they call, then you have to do it with the goods. If they fold, keep it up. Alright, limp, and I've missed. And now I've got some showdown value. And we'll just check this one down, and ace-6 beats king-6. And a min raise, which I call. Here I've hit the bottom pair, and just decide to flat call that, see what my opponent does on the turn. 7 hearts is not a great card. Here my opponent checks, and really this is where I've seen so many players go wrong. On the turn, you must bet here if you think you're ahead or if you think you can get the fold. And checking, because you have showdown value, is so very, very wrong. If you check here, all you're doing is giving your opponent a free chance to suck out on you. What you want to do, if they're sitting there with a heart or a draw or whatever, is make them pay to catch up. So here I bet 90, probably a little light, get the fold, and if I check there and the 4th heart or whatever hits, then I will have given up a 180 chip pot for nothing. Alright, min raise, and once again disliking the 2s, so folding. And I think I raised once pre-flop, being very passive. Take a stab at this paired board and take it down, and so far I've sort of gone up and down a bit, but nothing great. And I check out of position, obviously intending to call. Opponent doesn't bet. Now I've hit the nuts, so I'm going for some value. And on the river, I should probably think to myself that my opponent isn't going to have much and not bet too aggressively, and I kind of get a bit excited and donk out 240, and that's a pretty easy fold. So I didn't play that the best. Sun cold nuts, no value, Probably another bet of 60 would have been good, or 90. So pretty poor bet sizing there. Sometimes in these videos you learn from what we do right, and other times what we do wrong. So that's a case of learning from what we do wrong. Alright, limp my S9, get min raised, that's fine. And here my opponent bets 30 into the 120 pot. I've got no hand, no draw, but she's giving me 5 to 1, which are pretty good odds. So, okay, I'll take that. And guess what? Bink on the turn. Another 30. The draw's very, the board is very drawy. So I raise to make my opponent pay if she has a draw. Call. Pretty blank looking card on the river. And my opponent bets 100 here. Looks like a blocking bet, but with just one pair, I'm not that strong. I'm probably comfortable flat calling, which I do. And how horribly did she play that? If she simply bets the flop, she takes down the pot, and now she's lost sort of, or half of that pot of her chips. So she's lost 280 chips instead of winning. And I'll just go back here. How much would it? Instead of winning 120, she loses 280. So that's basically a 400 chip turnaround there because of a very poor flop bet. She bets 90 into that flop. I'm done. And that's really changed the momentum of the match. Alright, she calls, Queen Jack, hit my top pair, check to give her a chance to do something silly, which she doesn't. And now the board has sort of 2 flush draws, so I'm obviously betting and winning it. Alright, limp and paired board, which I stab at and take. Thank you very much. And now some 3x raises. Before they were 2x, now they're 3x. And I'm not calling them as wide. Easy fold, and fold my 3-5 as well. And stab at this, get called. I think I'm done. 30 bet on the turn, and I've got no showdown value, no hand against an opponent who, while she's been a bit active post-flop, she's been tight. So I'm gone there. Alright, limp my 5-2, and here I don't really believe my opponent, so I'm going to raise and take it down. Could have been 5-2 of spades, could have been 5-2 of hearts. That's probably the 4th or 5th time I've attacked this player's donk bet, and they've folded nearly every time except for once when they had a draw right at the start. And I stab, get the fold. So Susie's not putting any pressure on me. I can stab at will and take down pots, but when she stabs, I have 3-bet her very frequently and punished her for those stabs. Alright, Jack 4, call, miss, connected board, not a good one to stab at, fold. Alright, more raising, and once again I'm in bet. I 3-bet her so often I'll just give her a break here. And limping, and I take a stab, get called, and I think I'm done with the hand. She's folded a lot of hands. Ace-9, which is not a great call. And this is a little bit different. I'll just wind this hand back. It's a little bit different to my call on Ace-9 before, because I'm betting half pot, whereas she was betting 30 into 120 pot, so the odds are quite different there. Okay. Alright, another min raise, which I'll call, of course. Completely miss, and I'm willing to call and see what I can do on the turn. And she checks, but that ace is such a horrible card. If it wasn't an ace, I would have definitely bet the river and tried to take her down. So really I was trying to float on this flop, but the river's horrible, and I'm gone. So anything that wasn't an ace, and I would have definitely bet that river. Here I try a raise pre-flop, pick up the blinds. Blinds are a little bit higher now, and sort of, I'm not going to get too aggressive, But at this level and the next level, certainly I'm going to start to increase my pre-flop aggression. And raised here, 2.5x. Fold, that's junk. And here we're raised, and I think my opponent's getting a little bit more aggressive. Time to see what she does to a 3-bet. Pre-flop, and the answer is she folds. So that was nice. And I fold my 7-3. Alright. Another limp, and this is not the best flop to attack. I mean, it's not a bad flop, but I'll just check it. Can't win every hand. I've got a lead, and I suspect my opponent will be pretty annoyed at this stage. And I will definitely stab here. Thank you very much. Get called. And now I'm going to check. Don't like it. But the river has probably saved me. And 120 for some value. Try and get looked up by an 8 or a 10. Foldsville. So I bet and binked, which is my favourite play. Min raise, easy call. And even though it's only a 40 bet, I just don't think I'm going to call here. To actually win the hand genuinely, I'd probably have to hit runner, although I could hit a jack or a 10. But yeah, I just think we'll give this one up and look for another spot. Alright, here we've hit middle pair. So we raise over the donk and get the fold. And ace high could be good. But they hit the 6 on the turn. Guess if I had a bet that in the flop it would have worked better. Alright, limping my ace 10, and I'm going to call here with my gut shot and overcard. And now I've got a double gut shot, so instead of raising here on the turn, I think I'll just flat call. And 40 looks weak to me, like a blocking bet. I try raising it to see if I can push my opponent off the hand, but I get looked up by top pair with a decent kicker, and that's fair enough. So that one hurt. So she's making this donk bet on strong hands, and obviously some weak hands. Alright. And here I'm checking with the open-ended straight flush draw, and 2 overcards the 9 and 2, which means a pretty strong hand. My opponent bets, and I'm going to check raise. And get the fold. Alright, ace queen, limp, being a little bit passive, and here I'm going to bet and take it down. Alright, top pair, take that one down, and this is not nice, no pair, no draw. I think we'll just give up. And like a lot of things, knowing when to do nothing can be a big part of winning poker as well. There's time to make moves, and there's time to wait for the next hand. Just say to yourself, next. And that's what I'm doing there. Next. Alright, ace 3, flush draw. I bet. I win. Pretty tight, this person. I could probably be betting a little bit more even, I think. And here we've hit bottom pair. 80, which looks to me like neither here nor there. I'm going to call it for sure and see what happens. Another ace, that reduces the chance he's got an ace. Could have a queen. I check, and my opponent checks behind. And now the flush on the river comes, beautiful. Checking, I could make a blocking bet, and 175. I never really put her on an ace. I don't think she's betting a queen here. I think she checked behind, which leaves the flush draw as a possibility. But personally, I think I'm good here. So I'm going to look this up, and I am. That helps. That gives me a nice lead again. And now the blinds have increased to 25.50. So I definitely will be getting a little bit more aggressive pre-flop. Alright, call the min raise, completely whiff the flop. And it's been checked. I could probably stab here, but I'm thinking I've got showdown value. And now I can't call even 50 on the river, which kind of sucks. I wish I bet the turn. But I didn't. Alright. And here I've got 2 overcards and a gut shot. I think I'm just going to flat this. And now I've got sort of the double gut shot and 2 overs. So I'm going to flat again. And queen on the river. I think I'm not going to fold out that many hands. I don't know. I mean, doesn't look like my opponent's got a 9. Don't know if I could represent the 9 by raising, but I do have a lot of showdown value, and there's plenty of chips in the pot, so I'm going to flat call. And who knows, if I had a raise there, I might have got called, or I might have folded out the 2 pair with the obvious straight there, but I'm not unhappy with the way I played it. Pretty passively, but I had the losing hand, and I lost the least amount of chips, I think. Alright, so here I'm going to make a little stab, take it down. If I get called, I do have a gut shot at least, and stab the paired board. Great against tight players. Get the fold, and bet out my middle pair, and I'm grinding my opponent down. Make a little raise here to try and pick up a blind, which works. My opponent raises, and I'm going to fold my jack 4. Here I limp, and I raise here because I think, number one, it's not a very good board for me to represent. Like, my opponent will not believe me very often. Number two, I have raised the donk bet at least 6 or 7 times, and surely she must be getting sick of it. So hopefully she'll choose this board to make a move, but doesn't, and I'm done. Alright, min raise, call, hit bottom pair, and on the turn, 150, my bottom pair's got to be dead here. So I'll get that up, and fold my 8-4. Can't really stab this, too low and connected. Let it go. And ace queen, I'm limping. And this is not a nice flop. And I'll just give up my ace queen now. I think I'll be happy if I win, which I do. Alright. So 7-9. And I've got a gut shot. But let's see what happens. The turn is the club, double gut shot, but with that club there, it's pretty ugly. And I would have attacked the river, but that 5 of clubs means I'm getting looked up way too often, so I can't bluff the river anymore. Got to fold. I've got to check it down. Just take my licks on that one and accept that I'm not going to win that pot. Alright, 6-3. I'm raising to pick up some blinds, which works. Getting a little bit more aggressive. And here we've hit the flush draw. Take down the pot. Stabbing works really well. Raising again, as I said, I was getting more aggressive at these higher blind levels, and it works. And stab the paired board. That works. And now I've got ace-ace. Surely I can't limp this, but I do, of course. My view is that this opponent is so tight that if I raise pre-flop, I'm only picking up the blinds, probably 9 hands out of 10. Better to give her an opportunity to do something silly. Which she does. Raises to 170, thank you very much. I 3-bet that huge to 510, and if she calls this, I mean, she's only got 400 behind. I don't think she really can call it. But she does, which is a pretty poor play. I think she should shove or fold, personally. Looks like an okay flop for me. Doesn't matter, with 1,000 chips in there, and me having aces, I'm not letting go anyway. I guess I miscalculated saying she's got 400 behind. She's got 600 behind, but with 500 chips in there, I mean, you know, it's shove or fold territory. You can't just call that, really. Now she shoves post-flop, and obviously I'm snapping that. And king-queen, pretty good board for her, and it's got a... she's picked up a nice draw and 2 overcards, but seeing I have the boots, ace-ace, I've got her draws blocked, and obviously the overcards are not much good to her either unless she hits 2 of them. Alright, queen on the turn, that's a bit ugly, and the blank 10, and that's the end of the match. So what you can pick up from this is really this idea that if people are stabbing out a lot, you need to start 3-betting them and seeing what they do. If they fold too much, keep it up. I mean, I picked up 5 or 6 pots there that I didn't deserve just by attacking her donks, and you can do the same. If they call too much, then you can only do it for value. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and until the next one, I hope that you run good.